Hey there, my zombie dodging, herb mixing survivalists. Today we're diving headfirst into a game that transformed many a 90s kid living room into the dimly lit, zombie infested streets of Raccoon City. Yes, we're talking about Resident Evil 2, a title so iconic that even the polygonal tofu knew how to make an entrance. Buckle up as we unravel how this game not only set the gold standard for survival horror, but did it so with the style of a Leon Kennedy backflip. Did I mention we'll be exploring how Capcom pulled off one of the most ambitious bait and switches in gaming history? Oh, and stick around for some Easter eggs that are more hidden than your stash of an emergency snack food. Set in the once bustling, now thoroughly zombified Raccoon City, Resident Evil 2 drops you right into the heart of a T-virus outbreak that's less about 9 to 5 grind and more about survive till dawn. Now our story stars two distinctly luckless heroes, Leon S. Kennedy, a fresh-faced cop who thought he was just rolling up to his first day on the force, and Claire Redfield, a college student looking for her brother who, unbeknownst to her, has been out playing hero in the zombie apocalypse. Talk about a rough family reunion. Leon and Claire's tales are cleverly interwoven, not just crossing paths, but practically doing the tango through a cityscape of the undead. Leon's day one on the job involves less ticketing jaywalkers and more dodging lurchers in uniform, while Claire's campus tour includes barricaded libraries and encounters with child survivors rather than fraternities. Both narratives explore themes of betrayal, conspiracy, and the unnerving realization that humans can sometimes be the real monsters. Looking at you, Umbrella Corporation. Speaking of Umbrella, these are the folks who, in their quest for bioweapon supremacy, basically turned a city into a 24/7 horror show. Our protagonists find themselves tangling with all sorts of nightmarish creations courtesy of Umbrella's R&D gone wild. And it's not just a faceless corporation they're up against. There's a whole roster of antagonists like William Birkin, think less friendly neighborhood scientist, more syringe-happy madman with a thing for monstrous transformations. The game does a stellar job of making you care about these characters, partly because they're so relatable. Leon's idealism and Claire's determination paint them as everyday heroes, the kind you root for in any horror flick. Their interactions with other survivors add layers to the narrative, from the tragic tale of Robert Kendo, whose personal loss mirrors the city's own devastation, to the enigmatic Ada Wong, whose agenda could teach Machiavelli a lesson or two. It's this rich tapestry of characters and their personal stakes in a city gone to hell that elevates Resident Evil 2 from a mere survival horror to a dramatic exploration of human resilience and moral ambiguity. And let's be real, who hasn't found themselves wondering what they'd do first if their worst day at work involved solving puzzles while dodging zombies? But enough about the game's plot. Let's dissect the real nuts and bolts of Resident Evil 2. The gameplay mechanics. These are the gears that keep our adrenaline pumping faster than a double shot of espresso during an all-nighter. At its core, Resident Evil 2 is a survival horror game that makes you ration your bullet count like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. Every shot counts. Every herb is a lifeline. And your save points? Well, they're as precious as finding an open gas station on a lonely road at midnight. The game combines traditional third-person action with puzzle solving and exploration, requiring players to not only fight off creatures, but also think their way through various obstacles. The inventory system is a minigame in itself. Limited slots mean you can't just hoard items like a post-apocalyptic squirrel. You got to strategize what to carry. Will it be extra ammo or that healing spray? Decision-making under pressure becomes crucial, especially when you're being chased by a skinless hound with more teeth than manners. Then there's the zapping system, a fancy term for actions in one scenario affecting the outcomes of another. Play as Leon in your first run, and you might take an item that would be crucial for Claire in the second. It adds layers of replayability and a sprinkle of regret when you realize you've hovered up all the ammo and left the next character with nothing but harsh language to fend off zombies. Puzzles in Resident Evil 2 are like that one friend who overcomplicates coffee orders. Intricate and sometimes a headache. From rerouting power to unlocking secret passageways, these brain teasers are woven into the narrative, revealing backstory and secrets of the Umbrella Corporation as you solve them. Lastly, the save system. Oh, the save system. Limited by the number of ink ribbons you find, deciding when to save is as strategic as planning your route through a zombie-filled hallway. This mechanic not only heightens the tension, but makes every decision to save feel as weighty as choosing what series to binge watch next, because you've got to live with those consequences. Through these gameplay elements, Resident Evil 2 delivers a masterclass in tension and resource management, wrapped up in a package that's as unforgiving as trying to return something without a receipt. The game doesn't just challenge our reflexes, it challenges your mind, making every playthrough a deliciously nerve-wracking experience. Now, as we peel back the curtain on Resident Evil 2, we uncover a development saga that's as twisted and intricate as the game's own labyrinth police station. After the blockbuster success of the original Resident Evil, Capcom was under immense pressure to deliver a sequel that would not only meet, but exceed the high expectations set by its predecessor. What ensued was a roller coaster ride of creative challenges, scrapped ideas, and the kind of team dynamics that make reality TV look tame. Initially, the project, under the working title Resident Evil 1.5, was headed by director Hideki Kamiya and producer Shinji Mikami. This version of the game was nearly 70% complete when the team made a bold, almost heart-stopping decision. Scrap it and start over. Why, you ask? The team felt that 1.5 was veering off from the horror elements that defined the original, leaning too heavily into the action. A move akin to choosing a band-aid over a broken arm. Entered the redesigned Resident Evil 2, a product of ambition fueled by sleepless nights and copious amounts of caffeine. Kamiya, aiming to deepen the narrative, crafted a storyline rich in drama and full of cinematic flair that would become the hallmark of the series. Mikami, transitioning to a supervisory role, ensured the game stayed true to its survival horror roots, balancing the scales between horror and action with the precision of a tightrope walker. The development team, known for their commitment to authenticity, went to great lengths to create a believable Raccoon City. From visiting real-life locations for its architectural inspiration to studying various horror films for atmospheric elements. The team's dedication was nothing short of a filmmaker preparing for an Oscar-worthy production. The level of detail in the game's environment and character design, led by artists like Isao Ohishi and Ryoji Shimogama, brought a heightened sense of realism that was groundbreaking at the time. Speaking of groundbreaking, if you're enjoying this deep dive into the guts of Resident Evil 2, why not smash that like button and subscribe? Trust me, it's less painful than a zombie bite and way more rewarding. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. A crucial component of the game's success was the sound design, managed by the adept ears of composer Masami Ueda and sound designer Yasuhisa Inoue. Their collaborative efforts in creating an audio landscape filled with moaning zombies, echoing footsteps, and the chilling silence of a deserted hallway were pivotal in amplifying the game's tense atmosphere. The triumphant revival of Resident Evil 2 from its initial faltering steps is a testament to Capcom's resilience and innovative spirit. The developers not only delivered a sequel that satisfied the hunger of fans, but also set a new standard for what a survival horror game could be. This journey from near failure to legendary success illustrates that, sometimes, the best creations come from the willingness to tear it all down and start afresh. A strategy as risky as running out of ammo in a room full of liquors, but just as likely to pay off. Now, switching gears from the dark, caffeinated corridors of development to the neon-lit streets of market success, Resident Evil 2 not only survived its perilous birthing process, but thrived, spreading like the T-virus through the sales charts worldwide. When it hit the shelves in January of 1998, this sequel wasn't just a game release. It was an event that had gamers and critics alike scrambling to get a piece of the action. Capcom's bold strategy to reboot the nearly complete game paid off handsomely. Resident Evil 2 quickly became a commercial juggernaut, shipping over 5 million copies globally by the end of 1999. It wasn't just the numbers that told the story of its success, but the way it lingered in the minds and consoles of players, becoming one of the best-selling games on PlayStation. The critical reception mirrored this commercial success, with reviewers praising its atmospheric depth, compelling narrative, and the sheer terror of its gameplay. This acclaim wasn't just fluff, it was backed by hard scores, with aggregators like Metacritic holding it in the high echelons of gaming royalty. The game carved out a niche in the survival horror genre, setting benchmarks that would influence its successors and reshape gaming narratives. Culturally, Resident Evil 2 did more than just rack up sales and accolades. It permeated mainstream media, contributing significantly to the zombie culture that invaded the late 90s and early 2000s pop culture. It influenced a plethora of media, from films to literature, underscoring the public's fascination with apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic narratives. Now, as we near the end of our deep dive into the shadowy corridors of Resident Evil 2, let's unearth some of the lesser-known tidbits that might have slipped past even the most eagle-eyed players. These are the Easter eggs, trivia, and unknown facts that Capcom sprinkled throughout the game like breadcrumbs, leading us on a trail of delightful discoveries. First up, did you ever notice the subtle nods to Capcom franchises hidden in plain sight? Take a stroll through Raccoon City Police Department and you might spot a poster that looks suspiciously like the cover from the Street Fighter series. It's Capcom's way of winking at fans, a cheeky reminder that yes, they're a part of the same universe, just with significantly fewer Hadoukens in Raccoon City. Then there's the infamous Tofu Survivor, a mode that unlocks only after conquering some of the game's toughest challenges. Tofu, a giant block of soy goodness, armed only with a knife and a prayer, was originally designed as a test character by the developers to check collision detection. The absurdity of Tofu's existence not only adds a layer of humor to the horror, but also cemented itself as one of the best and most beloved quirks of the franchise. But the Easter eggs and trivia aren't just for laughs. They're woven into the fabric of the game's very architecture. The design of the police station, which serves as the game's central hub, is inspired by the real-world architecture of the Museum of Natural History in Los Angeles. This choice wasn't just for aesthetic appeal, but to amplify the feeling of isolation and dread, turning a place of learning and order into a playground for the undead. And just like that, as abruptly as a zombie popping out of a locker, we wrap up our jaunt through the decrepit yet beloved halls of Resident Evil 2. From its nail-biting gameplay to the rich tapestry of terror it weaves, this game has not only survived the test of time, but thrived, gnawing its way into our collective gaming hearts. So keep your ink ribbons handy and your shotguns loaded, because in Raccoon City, you never know when you'll need to make a quick, dramatic exit. Until next time, keep those controllers charged and your wits sharper than a zombie's teeth at a brain buffet.
Sherry, you look terrible.
No worse than you, Claire.
Come on, time to leave.
Now? What's wrong? Is something following us?
We have to go. We don't have any time to waste.
Go? Where?
Hey, it's up to us to take out Umbrella.
If you enjoyed exploring the halls of Resident Evil 2, click this video here to see more from the Retro Reload. And as always, thank you for watching.